partnership that allows the city of Milwaukee to continue its aggressive work to reduce childhood lead poisoning and childhood lead exposure. Several weeks ago, with the understanding that one of our community partners, United Way of Greater Milwaukee and Waukesha County, led by President and CEO Mary Lou Young, had come forward and worked with several other leading health systems in our area, Aurora Healthcare, Ascension of Wisconsin, Children's Hospital System of Wisconsin, Frederick Medical College of Wisconsin, and they extended donations to help support water filters, starter kits for those who are vulnerable in our community. And that was a great start to a great public health initiative. We're here today, though, to announce another partnership and another key effort. United Way, along with A.O. Smith, the parent company of Espasana Water Filters, is to announce that A.O. Smith will be offering a discount to all residents of Greater Milwaukee area on its website so that they can purchase these filters.
Hey, welcome to Ask the Blacksmith. I'm your host, The Blacksmith, and we're going to just dive into this show. But before I get into it, I want to tell you, you know what, when I started this show, this is exactly why I wanted to do it, because it's like so many times we talk stuff, we say stuff, what we got to do, but I think real revolutionaries, they do more action, do more walking than talking, but you got to do the talk to make the noise. And I'm sitting here with one of Milwaukee's biggest noise makers, biggest revolutionaries. I'm proud and honored to have him on the set. Brother Robert Miranda.
Hey,
how you doing?
Thank you for inviting me.
You know what? I remember the first time I heard you speak on this, and I'm gonna tell you why it struck my heart, because everybody know I work for the Bucks, and talking to one of the players, and he asked me, he was like, "Doc, is the water good here?" And I said, "No, man, we had this scare back in the early '90s with cryptosporidium, but because of that, I said we got some of the best water here. In fact, you know, over at UWM in Milwaukee, that's my alma mater. I'm like, that's they the freshwater capital of the world. It's like we're trying to be the Silicon Valley of this water stuff." He was like, "Man, I don't know, I heard some rumbling about the water." And so it made me think, and I was like, okay, well, let me see. Then a couple weeks later, I met you, and we were at the mosque, and you kind of going over some stuff, and I was like, wow, this is blowing my mind that a city, you know, we talk about Flint, the water crisis, everything that was going on, but I was like, we're trying to help out Flint, which is good, but this is happening in our backyard.
Sure.
Tell everybody, let's move it back to the cryptosporidium from 1993. Talk about the issues from that, but then fast forward to how that's the same but much different from today and what we're going to talk about.
Sure. Well, we could take it a little further, and then we could go into the cryptosporidium. You know, so in 1986, the United States Department of the Interior banned lead from being used as a medium for transporting water into our systems. So in 1986, we had a big ban. So nobody can use any more lead to connect the lead laterals from the house to the water main. Nobody can use lead piping in their house, and now it's all changed into other matters, PCBs and all this other stuff, okay? So then, all right, so we go ahead and we banned the lead in 1986, and then cryptosporidium hits in 1993. And 93, 94, around there. And so we get this scare because what happened was we had this parasite that got into the water system, and it got people sick. Now, it's important to note that cryptosporidium and lead pipes are two totally different things. And so as they're dealing with the issue of the cryptosporidium, and they found out what was going on, and they were telling us all what we had to do to make the water safe, they were also discussing how they were going to go ahead and prevent this whole cryptosporidium thing from happening again. And so this is where we come up with those big tunnels and all this stuff about the stuff. They were going to extend the pipe out a little farther into the lake and collect more of the water and stuff. But one of the topics of discussion that they had, but they should have followed up on at that time, was the fact that many of our homes still had lead lateral pipes.
So hold on. You telling me that they spent $80 million to fix up the water system, but they knew that it was still some other issues, but they neglected to deal with it at that time?
Correct. So they knew that they had to change the treatment. They had to change the whole method of how to make the water clean. They knew what they had to do to get it from the lake, go through the treatment plant, get it to the water main, and then it goes to your house. They knew all that stuff they had to change. They knew they had to get a new pipe. They knew all that. But they also knew that there was a problem, and the problem was that the lead lateral pipes, that the water came out of the main and started going through the pipes. Once that nice, safe, clean water left their main and started going into these homes with these lead lateral pipes, the water is no longer safe.
So the water is good, but because it's in those pipes that's contaminated,
it contaminates the water. So the water becomes contaminated. So, you know, and the city cannot guarantee that the water is safe all the way through. They can't do that. It's impossible to do that. So then they went ahead and they said, okay, well, we're instead of finding the money to remove pipes at that time, they went ahead and said, well, we're going to start putting in what they call this orthophosphate.
Okay. Explain that.
Orthophosphate is a kind of compound that they put in the water.
Okay.
And what it's designed to do, it's supposed to go in through the system, and then when it goes through the lead pipes, it just basically coats the inside of the pipe, and it basically prevents the lead from leaching into the water. Okay, that's what orthophosphate's supposed to do. The problem with that is that studies have shown that whenever you have construction going on around the neighborhoods, and they start pounding, breaking up sidewalks, pounding and breaking up streets.
Doing normal infrastructure stuff, that's good for the city.
Exactly, the need for repair, get rid of the potholes and stuff. What happens is the vibrations shake up the pipes and releases the orthophosphate and releases the lead that's caught up in there, and it goes into the water. See, so they've been doing this for a whole decade or two. They know this is happening. They know this is dangerous to the community. They know when they do construction that this is going on.
So for 30 years, really.
And they've been doing it since all that time, from '86 all the way down. They've been consistently doing it. Now, new studies have recently come out that have really basically told them, look, we're not playing. This is real. Construction does impact the spiking of lead in these lead pipes in the water. Spikes with lead, and it's a very dangerous situation. But getting back to the crystal spiridium time, at that time, when they were telling us that in order to be safe from the parasite, we had to boil our water.
I remember that. I remember that.
So here we are.
Burning out the impurities.
Yeah, we got to burn out all that stuff. But the problem is that we still had particles from the lead pipe that were going into the water. Now, you don't boil out lead particles.
So hot boiling water does not burn out lead.
No, it concentrates the lead in the water more.
So not only does it not make it better, it actually
makes it worse. It makes it worse. So what you have is a situation now where you had water being boiled to get rid of a parasite, but at the same time, there are probably many houses out there that had some of these particles in their water being boiled in the water, and then here they are using that water, cooking with the water.
Can you talk about which houses would have been more vulnerable at that time, as far as like when they were built, when they were constructed?
We're talking mostly of the houses that were built before 1950.
Okay.
So many of the houses that were put together back in the 1880s, 70s, 90s, all the way up to 1950 are the ones that are mostly impacted. Now, if you do have concern that your house may have lead pipe, you can go to the City of Milwaukee Waterworks website.
Okay.
And they do have a page there where they have all the addresses of all the houses that have lead pipes. And you could look up your address to see if your address is identified with the lead pipe. So all you have to do is go to Milwaukee Waterworks, and the page comes up, and just look for the water stuff and lead awareness thing.
Okay.
Hit that link, and then you get in there, and you should be able to find your address.
Hopefully you can't, but if you can.
But if you can't, then what I would do is I would go into the basement of my house, find out where the water pipes are, and I would scratch that pipe. Now, if it's shiny, you probably have a lead pipe.
Oh, wow.
See, so you need to look. It'll probably look like a little dull gray kind of pipe or something. But you scratch it, if it isn't as shiny, and if it's very shiny, come out, you got a lead pipe.
So let's go back to the point you made. You said if we boil the water trying to be safe, but there's lead in it, it makes it worse. What's some of the damage that can do to a human body?
Oh, the damage to infants, babies, fetuses can be fatal. It could be fatal.
A mama who
especially
may
women
experience a
of
miscarriage.
childbearing years are at most risk for having inadvertently poisoned their child even before the child has been conceived, because lead stays in the body. It does not go away.
Oh, so it soaks into the ovaries.
It goes in. Yeah, it goes into tissue. It goes into bones. You may have a blood lead level of 6 or 7. The CDC says no blood level is safe. However, they do say that 5 micrograms per deciliter is the most you should have as a blood lead level in your body. But if you have more than that, they gotta immediately get you into medical attention and get you medical help. So, but if you don't, and let's say you do, let's say you have 7, 8, you get treated, and it goes down. It's down to 3, 2, 1, 0, whatever. That lead didn't leave your body. That lead stayed in your body, and it goes into your bones, it goes into tissue, it goes in your teeth, it goes wherever, and it stays there. And it releases eventually as you're growing up. And for children, it can be devastating to the mind. It could destroy their thinking, their cognizance, their reasoning, all that stuff. Okay? For adults, some people will say, well, I've been drinking Milwaukee water for years and I have nothing going on with my head. I'm good. I said, well, it may not necessarily be impacting you now, but when you become older, say 60, 70, 80, all of a sudden you're having problems with your joints, your bones, because the lead impacts the bones, and it makes things very difficult for you. You might think you have arthritis, but it could be
so it exacerbates the arthritis.
Yes.
If it is. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a very dangerous toxin for children. It could be fatal for children that are being conceived, fetuses, babies under 1 year old. It could be very dangerous. It could be also extremely dangerous for kids as they're developing, because the mind is developing when they're 2, 3, 6, and so if for those children to be drinking this water, what you're doing is you're playing pretty much Russian roulette with their lives. And this is the danger of the sea. People go, oh, but you're making a big deal out of it. Well, let me tell you something. The Zika virus, right? You got the Zika virus, and everybody concerned about this one billions and billions of mosquitoes, but there's probably 1 or 2 in there that and look how fast they reacted to that, right?
It's a true public health concern. They acted up on it.
Yeah.
But this
situation, we could be dealing with one tiny sliver of lead particle that could slide through a faucet aerator as you're flushing your water, and it goes into the water and could be going into the water of a baby or the formula of a baby. And they're not concerned about that one little sliver. You're concerned about a mosquito giving a Zika that would deform a baby before the baby is born. But then you're not concerned about this little sliver of lead that could get into the water because the baby is breastfeeding or getting a formula, and then can die or could be majorly impacted.
Effects.
So it's just as dangerous to have this as a source of drinking water for families in this city.
We won't stop right here. We got a video that we're gonna go to that was exposed by our local media news, and we're gonna go to it. I want you to look at it, and when we come back, Robert's gonna explain some more of the things that we're talking about, and more importantly, we're gonna talk about what we can do to put pressure on those people who are in charge of this to make something happen, because that's our charge to do. We'll be right back.
The city and its residents agree that road construction is essential. Where some differ is whether or not the pounding and digging is shaking lead from lateral service pipes into Milwaukee families' drinking water.
You need to be there consistently checking and making sure that lead levels are not spiking in the waters of those neighborhoods.
Robert Miranda speaks for FLAC, the Freshwater for Life Action Coalition. They argue that hazardous toxic lead pipes can spike dangerous levels of lead during these projects, and the city is not doing enough to protect families.
My home is 114 years old. So we know what's happening with my pipes and others at this table. We have to get into the mindset that no level of lead is acceptable. One of the clients that we're working with, her son was diagnosed with having increased lead, and he has actually a part that actually makes him violent. People don't talk about that. He's only 9 years old.
See, when you hear that, it's got to make you upset. But this is the thing, like sometimes, let's just be honest, the local media is only going to give you so much. And that's what I love about this show is that we can tell you everything unadulterated, unapologetic. We're going to go into it. So, Rob, why don't you put that first slide onto the screen? Now, why don't you tell us about what we can do to start to fix this, Robert, as far as it relates to the pipes, who should pay, what needs to be done, and everything from that nature.
Sure. So as you see on the screen, it's a typical house with a water main, the big blue water main that's there, and then you see the pipe that's coming from the house. That's the lead lateral pipe. All right. Now, the city has been arguing that they are not going to take responsibility for replacing the whole lead lateral pipe. They're saying that it's on part of the lead lateral pipe is on private property, and that the part that the city would be responsible for is the part that the city will remove. However, they don't feel that they should, and we argue that's utter nonsense. There is documentation at City Hall that I researched out of the Legislative Reference Bureau that shows back in the 1870s, it was pretty much mandated by the city that lead pipes will connect with the water main. So they, at that time, were telling people you will use lead pipes. So this is a city-created issue.
So well, let me ask you this, because I know some cities have had to do that. So who paid for that in those cities?
In some cities, there are no different. Madison is one city that had a kind of shared responsibility where the property owner may have picked up some of the cost. And then Lansing, Michigan is another city where the city paid for the whole thing. Because they recognize that they were the ones who created the whole problem. So there are a number of different formulas and different ways of doing this. But we say that,
it's a city-created problem.
It's a city-created problem. The city needs to pay for this. And the reason why we're very adamant about that is because now, just because you remove the lead lateral from the whole situation, it doesn't necessarily get rid of the problem. Because a lot of the houses also have to deal with lead fixtures in their houses.
Okay.
So you have lead fixtures that need to be addressed as well. So we're saying, no, the city needs to remove the biggest cost, and the biggest cost is getting rid of the lead lateral.
Yeah.
All right. That could range between $6,000 to $10,000. All right. Depending on the length, depending on how much work.
That blue thing, how long that is. Okay.
Exactly. Depending on how long the length is. And so we say, no, the city should pay for that, because then the fixtures in the house, the homeowners are going to have to pay for that too. So why not let the homeowners dealing with the
instead
fixtures
of double dipping, having to do the laterals
and paying for what a city created problem is? The city should pick up all that cost, and then this way the homeowners can go ahead and deal with the fixtures, the faucets and stuff that are made of lead. That way we could work to make sure that the water is lead free all the way around.
Okay. So we got 70,000 homes, if I'm correct, or 70,000 lead laterals that could be possibly affected.
Right.
Can you tell me within the Milwaukee area where these might be?
And so there are aldermanic districts here. I'm
All right, hit to the next slide.
I'm gonna go ahead and
put that up on the screen for the people to see.
Cheat sheets here. And so in the aldermanic districts with the two highest number of lead pipes, Aldermanic District 14.
Okay.
Which is Aldermanic District Tony Zielinski's district, which is in the Bayview area and all that. They have 9,452 pipes. 9,452. The other one is Aldermanic District 10, which has 9,166. Okay? So between those two districts,
they got almost 19,000.
They got almost 19,000, right? Now here's the interesting thing. In my walk around the city and talking at forums and stuff, especially in the South Side, right? In the South Side, in the West Side, this is in the black community. We're not there. We're not. This is nothing that is impacting us. This ain't got nothing to do with us. Well, hold on. Wait a minute. Aldermanic District 14, Aldermanic District 10 Aldermanic District 12 and Aldermanic District 8 are 4 of the top 7 that has the most lead pipes. So between those 4, they have about 30,000 lead pipes in their district.
That's
So
almost half.
this is almost half. So you have in the South Side
Yeah.
a health crisis as well, because you have almost 30,000 pipes in the South Side and West Side of the city. And then, okay, so, and then, you know, so this trying to make it sound like it's just a North Side thing, and so, you know, drop all that racism and get to the part.
It's a city. It's a
this
public
is a
health
city
issue.
public health issue.
So let me get to, because this is where I get upset. Because like you said, the babies are the ones who's hurt. We have innocent mothers. We have all of our citizens. You said this can affect us because the lead never leaves our body. The city tried to deny it, or they tried to kind of hoodwink us, tried to belittle or try to minimize the problem.
They tried to first create this kind of obfuscation that there's no problem.
All right.
Back in February of this year, Commissioner Bevan Baker, who is the Department of Health Commissioner,
Yes.
in an interview on CBS Channel 58 said no lead comes out of our tap water.
So he wasn't lying.
No, he was lying.
No. I'm saying because he was talking about. Oh, he said nothing comes out. Not like it doesn't start here.
Right.
But he's saying at the end.
At where the tap water, where the tap is, where you turn on the faucet,
Right,
he
right.
was saying there's no lead that comes out.
Okay, so let's be real. Let's be real. Was that ignorance or was that a bold-faced lie?
Well, you know, I'm going to say that was an inept statement. I'm gonna
Okay.
give him the benefit of the doubt because his
But this
field
is
is
the
not
director.
water.
Okay.
Okay. His
Okay.
field is not water. His field is not the construction and his field is the health.
Well, then tell me he had to redeem or the community
Oh,
had to
he
redeem
changed his
himself.
mind after a
Okay.
while. I mean, his mind. Believe you me, his mind has changed. But when I heard that, I said to myself, even in my very layman, very uneducated
Come on.
view of this, you cannot just come out
And say
and bold
100%.
face 100% say no lead comes through that
That's
tap.
what, I always tell people when I do psychiatry, I say whenever somebody say always or never, that's never the case. That's never the case.
That's it. So when he said that, I said, okay.
So
Then-
what made him flip the script to say, I maybe said something I shouldn't have said.
well, that's when we started getting involved. The Freshwater for Life Action Coalition.
Okay, better
We held
known as
FLAC.
All right,
FLAC.
well, y'all got to give him some flack for that right there.
We started giving flack. We came out and started making flack everywhere.
And we got to.
And so we had our press conference at City Hall, and we were saying, you know, the mayor's statement on this issue and the commissioner's statement on this issue, and at that time in January there was a rules and steering committee meeting where the bureaucrats and the department heads of water were also making some statements that were pretty questionable. We came out in March with our press conference and said, no. This is not gonna. We're not gonna let this fly. You guys are definitely trying to sweep this under the rug, trying to make it sound like, oh, well, this is not Flint and the water is safe. No, we went ahead and that's when we became active and started raising a lot of flack about what's going on.
But we got to bring awareness to this.
Exactly. People need to know what's going on so that they can research, so they can look into the matter. And right now, there's a lot of people looking and they're reading and they're going, wait a minute.
Well, because this affects everybody.
Exactly. I mean, but what it affects is our children the most. Our babies, our children who become impacted by the mental, by the mind altering of this neurotoxin that gets into their body and destroys their ability to compete in the world job market. That cause all kinds of cognitive
more anger behavior, violent behavior.
You know,
all
there
the
are
problems we're
studies
seeing
that
and we
show all
complain
that.
about,
Yes, exactly.
and we're contributing
could be tied
to it.
to the fact that a lot of our children are either eating paint chip or drinking lead water.
Don't even get us on the FDA and the chemicals.
All that other stuff. But these things really do make a major contribution because one, water is vital to our body.
Oh yeah, I mean that's
You
what we
need
made of.
water. You cannot live without. You can live 30 days without food, but you can't go a week without water. and you need water.
And
Water is very
we
important.
witnessed that in our county jails with the sheriff. With the young man.
Exactly. So here we are mixing our water with our formula, the tap water with formula, feeding this to our babies, and we're destroying a lot of lives out there by not realizing what the situation is. There's another slide here
Okay.
that I wanted to show that. And it shows about what they call the faucet aerators.
Okay.
Now,
Put that up, Rob.
so the faucet aerators are basically, when you turn on the tap and the water goes through the faucet, and they're telling us to flush the water, right? So they're saying
For 3 to 5 minutes, who does that? That's not even like
exactly.
Doesn't make sense for the environment.
But let's say we are doing that.
Okay.
Let's say we are doing that. Okay. So we got the water flushing, blah blah blah. Yeah, sure. Maybe the water will get cleaned out from the water that was stagnant in the pipe, and that water which probably was stagnant for a few hours may become contaminated.
Yeah.
So you flush it and get rid of it and get it out of there. But that doesn't necessarily guarantee that particles in the pipe are not going to go ahead and
still
continue
be in the new water.
Exactly. So now what happens is they tell you to flush, and then they say, okay, well, if you flush, also clean out the aerators in your home and the faucet.
Yeah.
Now you'll notice at the screen
Yeah.
that I have an aerator screen.
Okay.
And there's a ruler there, and you will see the different kinds of particles around there that can slip through that little screen.
That's what happened with the cryptosporidium because
Exactly.
it was the parts were so microscopic that the things
They were
you had to
going
help.
through the screen, right?
And so we have not cryptosporidium, but we have other parts of lead that can get through.
Exactly. So here, this screen doesn't catch everything. So yeah, okay.
It
take the screen.
helps.
It helps. It might catch some of the bigger pieces, but those little tiny pieces that slip through, that's what's getting through, and that's what's poisoning us. And there's another slide.
Go to the next slide, Rob.
And then you will see in that slide, there was a number of studies that were done. Now, Dr. Mark Edwards is the one who put all this together, and he sent me these slides. Now, this was going on in Washington, D.C., where he did a test of what was happening over there. They had a major issue with lead
So this
pipes.
just doesn't happen in Milwaukee and Flint.
This was happening. Look, City Hall and the people at City Hall know how dangerous this is, and they know what kind of
No, it ain't
situation.
no man coming out the tap water.
Oh yeah.
So somebody had to know something.
Look, this thing in Washington D.C. happened in 2004, so they know how
Because
serious.
when something happens someplace else, you start looking in your own backyard.
Exactly, and now the superintendent of Milwaukee Water Works here in Milwaukee